Some people don't succeed because they're more talented than everyone else. They succeed because they've trained their ability to focus longer than everyone else.
Welcome to Success Spectrum Podcast, where new entrepreneurs break free from limiting beliefs, build unshakable financial confidence, and step boldly into the life and business they were meant to create.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Success Spectrum Podcast, sponsored by Apex Affiliation. I'm your host, Kadeem McLean. Over the last few episodes, we've talked about decisions, systems, and consistency. Today, we're talking about something that underlines all of it: focus. Not focus as motivation, not as personality, but as a skill that you can either train or never develop. So before we talk about why the breakdown of focus is not a character flaw, we got to talk about why the breakdown happens. So I want to ask you, have you ever said any of these to yourself before? I'm just not wired that way. Some people are naturally focused, or I've always struggled with attention. See, the issue is that we mistake untrained focus for an inability. But focus is not something that you're born with. It's something that you practice and you develop over time. But that belief that you're born with it or you're not is more damaging than people realize. Because when constant distractions are coming our way, attention gets fragmented. And we're constantly task switching. That becomes the norm. I'm constantly multitasking, as we like to call it, but task switching. And deep work, therefore, it feels uncomfortable. When we sit there and we get into hours of work or multiple, 10, 20, 30, 40 minutes of work, and we're doing deep work at that point, it's uncomfortable because it's not what we're used to. And we're used to being distracted, right? So in this case, what we're doing is we're training our brain either to be focused or we're training our brain to be fragmented. And in that case, with all those distractions, of course, we're training for fragmentation. So when the pressure hits, whatever you default to, whatever you trained your brain for. So if you trained your brain for fragmentation, that's what you're going to default to. And that's where focus can really break down. Because when the emotional pressure hits, that's when it starts to fall apart. The stakes are high. The results are uncertain, or they feel uncertain, and you fear wasting time. That's when focus will disappear completely. It'll collapse. Your focus will collapse when anxiety takes over. So you don't lose focus because you don't care. You lose focus because your nervous system is completely overloaded. So how do we really train this thing called focus as a skill? We need to reframe our focus training, right? Because again, you're either training for focus or fragmentation. So for focus, we need to do some short reps, not long marathons, not as an example I gave in the last episode, I'm going to read an hour a day. It can help me focus. No, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. That's focus. For those 5 to 10 minutes, no distractions are coming in and I am reading this book for 10 minutes. That's focus. That's a short rep. Fewer distractions, not more discipline. Eliminate or minimize your distractions as much as you can. And of course, allow recovery time in between your efforts. When there's pressure in a pipe, right, or there's water rather going through a pipe, there's pressure. But if there's holes all over that pipe, the pressure gets alleviated. And that those holes are the distractions in your environment. Guess what happens in that case? You don't need more willpower. The water is coming through regardless. You need fewer leaks so that the pressure can stay in the pipe and the water can flow through the way it's supposed to. Those leaks, those holes, those are your environmental distractions. And focus improves when the environment stops fighting it. So let's make this practical. 4 things we can do here. Start with shorter focus windows. Again, I talked about an hour versus that 10 minutes of reading. Shorter focus windows. Protect 1 block per day. 1 block per day. Again, if you got your focus window, I'm going to protect this time right here. Time blocking, you can call it. Some people call it a 90-minute sprint. Whatever you got to do, pick one of them and run with it. Of course, you don't have to do it for 90 minutes because that's not a short time. But that 10 minutes, that 20 minutes or 30 minutes, whatever you can start with, start there. Remove 1 distraction at a time and stop before you become exhausted. My friend was telling me he would sit there and he would try to read for an hour and he hasn't been reading consistently, if you will, or he's not used to reading. Yeah, of course you're going to get tired. You're going to get exhausted. Your brain is fighting, much less you said English is not your 4th language, never mind your 1st language. So yeah, you're going to get exhausted trying to read for an hour because you're not used to it. Start with 20 minutes, 15 minutes, 10 minutes. And then of course you can build up, but take your break before you get exhausted. Training focus isn't about grinding through longer hours. It's about taking that time, as we talked about, and kind of breaking it up into pieces until you can get to those longer hours. because then you've trained the skill, and the muscle, your focus muscle, is now stronger. It can handle more. Focus grows when you respect its limits. You don't go into the gym and try to lift 100 pounds right off the bat. No, you start with a 20, maybe 15 pounder, because you're going to break something, right? Just like your muscle has limits, so does focus. You have a focus muscle. Focus grows when you respect its limits, not when you ignore them. So some closing thoughts here for this one. If focus is a skill, then distraction is not a flaw. It's feedback. Choose one daily block. This is your action step. Choose one daily block this week to protect completely. Shorter is fine. Again, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, however long. Consistency is what matters the most, because we just need to make sure we're consistent during that duration. Block out the distractions.
What if shopping could earn you cash instead of just costing you? You've been stuck in the cycle, tap, swipe, spend, watching your paycheck just disappear. But one day, after you stumbled onto this app called Rakuten, you ask yourself, why am I paying full price when I don't have to? But then you think, maybe it's just another gimmick. Then one of your friends tell you about this app called Rakuten, who makes them money and gives them cash back and rewards for thousands of stores every time they make a purchase that they were made anyway. You try it once, you discover hidden deals, compare prices, and you start winning. Shopping becomes a strategy. Every tap pays you back, and you still get what you want. You share Rakuten with your friends, watch your income grow, and become more financially confident. Download the Rakuten app today and keep more of your hard-earned money in your pocket.
Next week, episode 85, we're talking about making decisions when you don't feel ready. And I think that's going to help a lot of people. Making decisions when you don't feel ready, and why waiting for confidence often keeps you stuck. Newsflash, confidence isn't coming. Make the decision. If focus feels scattered and progress keeps slipping, it's usually not your effort, it's structure. I work with entrepreneurs who feel mentally overloaded, stuck, or need to simplify their direction, train their focus, and build an execution rhythm they can actually sustain. This isn't about motivation, it's about clarity, structure, and accountability. If this sounds like something you need, check out the Apex Self-Mastery Clarity Call linked in the description. One final takeaway for you: focus isn't something you wait for, it's something you train. Now remember, success is not a destination, it's a spectrum. So keep evolving. See you on the next one.